Hi everyone, and welcome to the Millennial Revolt, an independent political talk show that seeks to bring a different narrative than the stale one we have going on right now in the mainstream media. So today we're going to be talking about more fake news, and I keep talking about this because I think it's important that we hold our news organizations and our publications accountable for the trash that they publish. And this more specifically has to do with President-elect Trump, BuzzFeed, and CNN. So let's just get right into it because there's so much to talk about. So an unverified report surfaced that BuzzFeed published that President-elect Donald Trump once had Russian prostitutes urinate on each other in a bed that President Obama and his family previously shared. Yesterday, CNN published an article stating that U.S. intelligence officials presented a 2-page synopsis of classified documents, which included claims that Russian operatives had compromising personal and financial information about President-elect Trump. The information was included in an annex to the classified version of the report prepared by the Office of Director of National Intelligence on Russian influence on the 2016 presidential election. CNN reported this. Later in the day, BuzzFeed News published the entire set of memos, which was purportedly prepared for political opponents of Trump by a person who is understood to be a former British intelligence agent. The dossier had been circulating among elected officials, journalists, and intelligence communities for weeks, according to BuzzFeed's Ken Bessinger. Included in the report was the accusation that Trump had personal obsessions and sexual perversions, including graphic sexual acts. While staying at the Moscow Ritz-Carlton, Trump reportedly requested the presidential suite where he knew President Obama and the First Lady, Michelle Obama, had previously stayed during their official trip to Russia. His conduct there included defiling the bed where they'd slept by employing a number of prostitutes to perform golden showers, which is basically someone urinating on someone. If you don't know, circa R. Kelly and his sex tape. Although news outlets tried to play it straight, reporters tried to one-up each other for the best urine-related jokes. Trump's camp, through lawyer Michael Cohen, emphatically denied the claims in the dossier. The Mic reported. BuzzFeed News described the allegations it contained as unverified, adding that the report contains errors. Regardless of any of its claims not being verified, no comment from the Trump administration, no proof to actually back up the dodgy dossier, BuzzFeed published the whole document so that the American public could decide for themselves. So this is just to give you guys a little bit of context on what happened on Tuesday and where we are on Wednesday, because it's important that people have background to what's going on. So now I'm going to show you guys a clip of President-elect Trump calling out CNN News as well as BuzzFeed News because of what they published and ran with yesterday.
Information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public. As far as BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, writing it, I think they're going to suffer the consequences. They already are. And as far as CNN, going out of their way to build it up. And by the way, we just found out I was coming down. Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is a very talented lawyer. He's a good lawyer in my firm. It was just reported that it wasn't this Michael Cohen they were talking about. So all night long, it's Michael Cohen. I said, I want to see your passport. He brings his passport to my office. I say, hey, wait a minute. He didn't leave the country. He wasn't out of the country. They had Michael Cohen of the Trump Organization was in Prague. It turned out to be a different Michael Cohen. It's a disgrace what took place. It's a disgrace. And I think they ought to apologize to start with Michael Cohen.
Sir, since you're attacking us, can you give us a question?
Go ahead.
No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization.
Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state,
Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
Can you state
she's asking a question. Don't
Mr.
be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
You're attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you give us a question?
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
So this incident goes to show you the larger problem, which is encompassing American journalism today. We've seen this with the Washington Post, their continued posting of fake news stories as far as Russia is concerned. They recently had to retract an article as far as their claim saying that Russian hackers hacked into a Vermont electric grid. I made a video about this, proving this to be false. They also made a whole story calling out news organizations on the left and the right, which were critical of President Obama's foreign policy as well as NATO expansion into Russian territory. They were called agents of the Kremlin. You see the New York Times doing this as well. So this is just a larger problem. Well, fortunately now we have a president who is willing to call out these organizations for what they are. They are just partisan hacks. And I like the New York Times, their history as a paper. I appreciate the Washington Post, their history as a paper. Right now, they're not doing what they need to do. And regardless of political affiliations and your personal biases, you're supposed to report on the news, give the facts as they are, give your opinion, and let your reader and the American people make up their mind. You shouldn't be trying to influence anyone's decisions, anyone's thoughts, and you shouldn't be blatantly publishing things that are lies. Because this is exactly what it is. It's a lie. They published unverified reports and they decided to run with it. And unfortunately, BuzzFeed was already at the bottom of the barrel. They blew what little credibility they had left. CNN will probably get their press credentials taken away. And I wouldn't blame the Trump administration taking them out of the White House press corps because they've just been doing shoddy work over the years and no one has called them out on it. And I think it's important that people on the left especially call out our news organizations when they're doing terrible things, because at this point it seems that alternative media has picked up the mantle that the legacy media has just dropped. They've decided to blow all of their credibility. They've decided to, instead of publishing facts, truth, they decided to go with sensationalism and they decided to just go with blatantly lying. BuzzFeed News as well as CNN News decided to publish this unverified document. CNN decided to run with it on its news channel. Just goes to show you the problems that we have. And it also brings up a larger point whether or not Donald Trump, President-elect Trump, will file a lawsuit against these. You can't just slander people. It's called libel. Character assassination is also an issue here because you're saying that the president-elect, before he was elected, went to Russia, got Russian prostitutes to give him a golden shower, as well as watching hentai, which is Japanese cartoon porn, in the hotel that President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama stayed in. That is very slanderous. It's very salacious in nature. And this is all just clickbait. Unfortunately, it seems that our mainstream media, the legacy media, has turned into nothing more than news outlets that publish salacious stories to get traffic on their websites. So because BuzzFeed News decided to publish this unverified document in a news story, CNN decided to run with this blatantly false story on their news channels. Here we are with CNN being called out at press conferences because of their poor work. And this just goes into a larger issue that we have. Now, over the past few weeks, if you've been watching the legacy media, there have been unsubstantiated reports of Russians supposedly influencing the US election. This is because WikiLeaks got documents, which I think was from Seth Rich, a former DNC staffer who was murdered this year, shot in the back through an apparent robbery gone wrong, even though none of his items were stolen from him. Now, WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, got documents from John Podesta, which showed the inner workings of the Clinton campaign. And there was a lot of damaging information there. That tipped the American people to say, I don't want to vote for her. Not supposed Russian influence that our CIA couldn't even verify in the documents that they released to Congress. There was nothing there but more allegations. Now, I'm starting to see so many news organizations saying that this is an attack on free speech if we allow President-elect Trump to so-called silence BuzzFeed. This has nothing to do with free speech. This has to do with a news organization such as BuzzFeed and CNN running with a story knowing it to be untrue. The documents were unverified. BuzzFeed even made a notation in their articles saying that these documents were unverified. It was a blatant character assassination because they don't like President-elect Trump, and that's perfectly fine. You don't have to like him. I don't like a lot of the things that he does, but I would never blatantly put out information that I know was false. And unfortunately, we see many outlets in the legacy media blatantly publishing articles that they know are false and putting it out there like it is fact. The fact of the matter is, majority of Americans do not read the articles. They just read the headlines. Now, if you see Trump, golden showers, Russian prostitutes, blackmail, what do you think they're going to think? This has to also do with the false information about Russian allegedly hacking the US election. A lot of people do not read the articles. They just read the headlines. And this is a problem that has been happening over and over and over, and no one has called them out on it. And imagine if this situation was reversed. And imagine if this was Hillary Clinton and you had the Daily Caller published an article about Hillary Clinton getting golden showers from male strippers in Russia. What would people say? They would be rightly outraged and they would say it is false news. But because it is President-elect Trump and there has been so many false information already put out on him, and there are good things to criticize him on, such as his business ties, and how that will affect him when he is making trade deals. That is something that people can criticize him on. That is legitimate. People do have questions. But the fact that people have made things up because they do not like him and then they are jumping on this sort of anti-Trump bandwagon is just going to make him stronger in the end. And it looks pretty good for him when he was going to want to run for re-election, because it just shows that the media is so partisan and so biased and so just willing to push their own political agendas that they're not going to be objective and just state the facts. And in the end, the only people who are going to lose is the news organizations who don't get the picture. The American people are tired of being lied to. We are tired of being taken for fools by news organizations who are supposed to tell us the truth. I'm the Millennial Revolt. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you have a wonderful day. Bye.